Well, hello, and welcome to Sports by Compian. I am, of course, your host, Stephen Compian, the primary motherfucking chef in the kitchen. So, yeah, we do have piles and piles of sports going on right now. You may think this is the spring. No, surely people weren't tackling each other in the spring weather. Wrong! Lots of tackling going on, lots of ice skating going on. That's right, the NHL has officially hit into the playoffs. There's already been game ones. We are going to go ahead and briefly cover that, since I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about in that regard. But maybe later on in the week, we will have somebody who actually does. Spoiler. Anyway, in addition to that, we're going to have the XFL, as they are in their final week, as they just wrapped up week 9. They got week 10, and then they're going into their, you can't even call this the playoffs. This is really just semifinals right into the finals. So that means that a certain team may be left out of the playoffs, which is very sad. Anyway, in addition to that, of course, the MLR continues to plow forward in their season. Some fantastic rugby being played. Some huge upsets took place this last week. We're going to cover all of that as well. As the USFL has just kicked off. You see, it's just always going to be people tackling each other, and Sports by Compian will be here to cover it. Kind of, brief information about it. Some, information you can take home and maybe just be like, hey, yeah, I know about that game. Well, how'd you hear about that? Sports by Compian, motherfucker. That's right. Go out there, tell your friends about motherfucking Sports by Compian. Anyhow, here we go. So, jumping right into this with XFL, recapping Week 9. The Houston Roughnecks finally got themselves a win. They've been having a really rough time of it the last couple weeks. So they finally find one against the Vipers, 28-21. Not the most comfortable win, I'm sure, for Roughneck fans. They got to be wondering what the heck's going on with their team as we head into this semifinal. Let's see how our boy Sievers did, right? Yep, Mr. Sievers himself. 2 interceptions, 105 yards. That is looking rough for Mr. Sievers as we head into the playoffs. You're going to have to clean that up, Brandon. Your team needs more out of you. Goddamn. Anyway, 2 teams who will not be in the finals, the Brahmas and the Orlando Guardians. Orlando actually had the lead early in this game, so I'm surprised to see that they lost it. Well, I guess I'm not, seeing as they're pretty much a bad team. The Brahmas went ahead and came back in the fourth quarter and get the win, 25-23, very tight contested game. Like I said, neither of these teams will be in the finals. Now, the Renegades actually went ahead and took the Defenders all the way to overtime. Unfortunately for them, they did lose there in overtime, but not a bad showing out of the Renegades. They've had an up-and-down season, will likely not be in the playoffs as well. But not a bad showing for them here against the Defenders. If you're a Renegades fan, you love to see it. You're hoping that this should show some good signs for next year, because the Defenders are the undisputed best team in the XFL, and they will plow forward into their playoffs. Nobody's going to catch them at 8-1. Speaking of people trying to get into the playoffs, Seattle Sea Dragons took on the St. Louis Battlehawks, and man, was it ugly for our boys over there in St. Louis. We've said this is probably one of the best home crowds. Didn't seem to matter. Seattle Sea Dragons came out firing. Hawks couldn't keep up. 30-12, you see, is the final score. Ben DiNucci had himself a pretty decent day. 2 touchdown passes, 260 yards, only 1 interception. Guy's got fucking piles of talent over there. But man, look at Philip Lindsay with 10 carries for 17 yards. Ouch. What is going on, Philip Lindsay, man? What happened to the good old fucking Broncos days, man? That guy used to win me fantasy games. Dude's spiraled. It's very sad. It's kind of sad to see. He has really cool hair, so I'm always rooting for him. Big game out of Mr. Pearson. 115 yards with a touchdown. Josh Gordon continues to do decent. 46 yards. I think he's like one of those things you got to continue to guard him, and it leaves a lot of the other people open. So good for Josh Gordon. I believe he might be in the NFL next year. Who knows? I think a lot of these guys have shown some things to these NFL teams. We're going to do a little bit more deeper dives into these players and teams as we approach these next couple weeks. But yeah, wanted to give you guys the update about that. So now this game is super significant because we'll switch over to the camera so you can see my face. Because now the Battlehawks, having lost this game, it means that they are out of the playoffs if Seattle wins next week, which they are playing one of the bad teams. They're playing the Vipers. So yeah, basically Seattle needs St. Louis. I'm sorry, I keep on saying Seattle. St. Louis needs to go ahead and beat Orlando at home. Shouldn't be too hard, although the Orlando quarterback has been playing really good lately. And then they have to hope that the Vipers somehow pull off a road win against the Seattle Sea Dragons. Not super likely, but then again, the Seattle Sea Dragons have done crazy shit in the past. They do have Ben DiNucci at quarterback. Wouldn't put it past them. you see, the reason I bring that up is the winner has to go play against the defenders. Now, both these teams, Seattle and St. Louis, have both played the defenders fairly well, so it should be a pretty good game. Looks like the Roughnecks will probably, I was saying the Renegades aren't going to be in it, but it was fucking wrong. And I was saying the Brahmas. So I think it's between the Brahmas and the Renegades to see who gets in. Because, I think if the Renegades lose and the Brahmas win, they'll both be at 4 and 6. Let's see how how'd that play out in the past when those two played each other. Because that, fans, will tell us which of the two will be in the playoffs if it came to it. Here's the game right here. Back in week 6 or something. Brahmas won. So, Renegades need to somehow win against the Roughnecks at home and hope that the Brahmas... Oh, then again, they could also just count on the defenders beating the Brahmas, which is not unrealistic at all. So, what's going on in this Week 10? We'll see who ends up in these quarterfinals, semifinals, headed into the finals. Moving on, we got the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs. First round is going down. Reviewing this real quick, we got those Las Vegas Knights. Am I right about that? Wait, I can check on that right now because I'm annoyed that I don't know it. Los Angeles Kings. So I wasn't even close. I am embarrassed, boys and girls. Sorry about that. Anyway, Winnipeg is over there too. Winnipeg Jets. I didn't know that. See the Jets. That's what gave it away. I knew it was Winnipeg. I was like, well, Winnipeg. Oh, yeah, the Jets. And then, here are the LA Kings. So, no, wait, but that is the something Knights. Golden Knights? Yeah, I think it's the Golden Knights. And then the Oilers. All right, so out of these two, I'm definitely going to go with my uneducated guess as hell. I'm definitely going with the Golden Knights, seeing as I'm going with Winnipeg. They've been pretty good. I do know that. Oilers are going to take this one because that whatever his name is. God damn, I really got to figure out some of these names. Sorry, guys. He's been playing like a stud. He's been having an absolutely amazing year. I have heard of that. Colorado Avalanche, the defending champions, are taking on the Kraken. Kraken, I haven't seen them in the playoffs in a while, so good to see them here. I do think they're going to lose to the Avalanche, though. And then we got Dallas and the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota's already up in this series by 1, but I'm still going with Dallas to pull this out. I mean, they're a really good team. Also, friend of the show, Taylor Seitz, of course, is a Dallas fan. He may or may not be coming on to give us some coverage about this. Then we have the Bruins as well as the Panthers. Now, I think that game is already 1-0 for the Bruins. Yeah, it is, that series. So it's already 1-0 for the Bruins. I'm going to go ahead and take the Bruins for that one. I think they're the favorite team. Of course, taking my Lightning against the Maple Leafs, especially since the Lightning seem to have the Maple Leafs number in the playoffs. For the little time I've been trying to pay attention to hockey, those two seem to be always playing in the playoffs, and the Lightning seems to come ahead more often than not. Anyway, we got the Hurricanes and the Islanders. Hurricanes are already up in this series by 1. I will take them as well to go ahead and win this series against the Islanders. Jersey Devils versus the Rangers. This is a classic New York versus Jersey matchup. I am going for the Devils for sure, as I used to live there in Jersey, so I will support the local team. Let's see if we missed any of these. I think those are the only ones that took place. Only about 3 in. Oh, the Kings are already leading. Huh. Well, they're still the Oilers are going to pull this one out. What else we got? All right, cool. But anyway, that's pretty much what's going on with the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's going to be a heck of a run here. I will try to get more information as we cover this, so it's not just ridiculously brief. But that's pretty much the Stanley Cup playoff picture. Moving into something we actually know a little bit about, Major League Rugby just wrapped up another week. Now, we haven't been following this super closely in the last couple of weeks, but we are hopping right back into it. So our Chicago Hounds, with their 1 win over the Jackals, could not find another win against San Diego Legion. Now, this game was actually pretty close. I would say the last 20 minutes or so got away from Chicago, and San Diego just kind of put a bunch, 3 tries on. 2 of them came boom, 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 and then they had another one right at the clock. So, not a bad game out of Chicago, honestly. If you were actually seeing some of it, they had some good stuff on offense. They still seem to be struggling on defense. This team, they just don't make their tackles when they need to, and I don't know. But credit to San Diego, they're definitely looking like one of the best teams in the MLR, and they showed why. Some absolutely beautiful kicks. One guy picked off a kick. It was wild. Yeah, they're freaking good over there. But you can see a huge upset here for Old Glory, versus the Ironworkers. New York is looking rough, for the defending champions here. They have now lost about 3 or 4 games, and they're losing to the good teams. So it's not looking great for them. Old Glory is starting to play really good rugby right now. They put it on 42-31. This game was obviously close, as you can tell from the score. A lot of back and forth. The GC kind of put a lot more on them in the end there. But New York was actually up by a decent amount at one point. I think they were up by 15-3. So, a lot of heart out of this Old Glory team. I think these playoffs are really interesting because we still got quite a few weeks left. So everyone in this league is so competitive. It's really awesome. Utah Warriors with a huge win at home over Seattle. This was huge, man. They just seemed to control the ball. Seattle, when they did have it, they were able to kind of do their Seattle stuff. But, credit to Utah. They are blowing up these last couple weeks. They have now beat San Diego Legion. They've now beat the Seattle Seawolves. And, those are the 2 best teams in the MLR, in my opinion. So they are on the rise for sure, if not the best, self-proclaimed best team. They got some amazing, they got some really good wings. Those wings are doing some really crazy stuff. At number 14 or 11, amazing hair on the kid, and just out there making some plays, man. They move so well. They always get the ball out into space. They're an experienced team, you can tell, and they are starting to play some really good rugby. And disappointing game for Nola Gold here versus Rugby Atlanta. 7-23. I actually didn't see the highlights on this one, but yeah, Nola Gold, disappointing loss for sure. Houston SaberCats went ahead and took a win versus the Dallas Jackals. Dallas Jackals still only hanging on to their 1 win there. The SaberCats get back into the win column. The Toronto Maple Leafs the Toronto Arrows got absolutely stomped by the Free Jackets. 80-80. That is 8-0, people, to 5. That is what I like to call a blowout. Really, really rough game there for the Arrows, who seem to be on a steady downtrend. Honestly, with the game I went to go see when the Hounds played them, we absolutely should have beat them. Their number 10 kind of just kept them in that game. So, yeah, no, not surprised to see them get absolutely smashed. I believe they've already played the Jackals, but then the Jackals and Chicago are all hanging out here at the bottom. And they're supposedly a step above the Jackals and the Hounds, but I don't know by how much. Anyway, enough shit to talk about the Arrows. They're doing the best they can. They didn't even have a home stadium last year, so they're trying their best. Anyway, that's pretty much what's going on here with motherfucking rugby, dude. But looking ahead to this coming week, we got Old Glory versus Utah. This is a hell of a game because Old Glory's coming off a great win. Obviously, so are the Warriors. So. Really good game right here, followed by another great game. The Free Jackets versus Rugby Atlanta. Atlanta needs to show that they can hang with the big boys. They've been putting down the smaller teams, but they really need to have a big win here. And the Free Jackets are looking amazing, so it's not going to be easy. We got the Dallas Jackals and San Diego Legion. Good luck, Jackals. Ooh, Hounds versus Nola Gold. This should be a very good game because it's kind of I'm actually going to go to this game. Cool. Yeah, wait, is that this weekend? Yeah, it is. Sick. Okay, cool. Yeah, I will be at that game, so that's good to know. Yeah, so that game is going to be Nola Gold coming to town, and I think that we have a very good chance of winning that one. Wow, that's exciting. I should definitely note that, 1 p.m. All right, cool. Ironworkers versus the SaberCats Houston Cats. This is going to be a good game, too. I think we're loaded this whole week. Because, the Ironworkers are coming off a rough loss. SaberCats are looking to come up on the up and up. It's in New York, though. We'll see what happens. This one's taking place in Toronto as Seattle comes into town to take on the Lowell Arrows, who just got their ass kicked. I'm sure they'll be looking for some revenge here. Let's see what happens. And that's pretty much the week ahead. Some really good rugby coming up, boys and girls. And yet another football league has already kicked off and started their first week just to do a nice little tag team there with the XFL. Very well planned, if you ask me. And returning coverage for the USFL here on Sports by Compian. Now, I don't think the Memphis Showboats were a team last year. I could be wrong, but they are already in the loss column as the Philadelphia Stars winners. Did they? No, I think they lost to the Stallions. But they got to the finals. So, defending East champions or however it is they divide these leagues up. They take a win, so they're already in the win column, and then the Birmingham Stallions, who are the defending champions, 27-10 win over the Jersey Generals. Rough start for the Generals, who were a very good team last year. I guess not super rough, but not great either. Michigan Panthers find themselves in the win column with a 29-13 win over the Gamblers. And the Maulers lose to the New Orleans Breakers, who New Orleans was good last year as well. So not surprising to see them here in their win column. All these games seem like they're still taking place. I guess there's a couple in Memphis, Tennessee now. So Memphis Showboats are really going to have a big advantage if they can figure their life out. And this was a pretty close game against the Stars. So we'll be looking to see what they can do this year. Could be pretty interesting. Anyway, boys and girls, thank you very much for tuning in. I did want to leave you with a quote. I'm not sure how it will apply to people and whatnot, but I figured I want to share it. It's from Mihawk. Now, if you watch One Piece, that is who I'm talking about. He is one of the 7 warlords, known as the best swordsman in the world. Zoro's up and up, who knows? But anyway, at the time that this quote took place, this was in East Blue, right before the crew even got to the main line. So as you can imagine, our boy Zoro was nowhere close to Mohawk's level. There it is, Mihawk's level. And so Mihawk, whenever he was going to fight Zoro, because Zoro insisted, he basically pulled out a dagger, and Zoro, offended, was like, "What the hell, man?" And he's like, I'm not a beast who goes all out when chasing a rabbit. So I don't know if that applies to your own life. Maybe just consider yourself that beast and don't go hog wild with every stupid task out there or every stupid argument or thing that comes across your desk. Maybe a lot of it just, use a dagger for it. It's not even worth your time. Anyway, Sports by Compian, out.